BJ says, so Will's logic is you were a meanie to him, but Nick was polite. Is Will the next April mentally and Nick sodomizingly? I was never impolite to Will until Will started basically being a propagandist. What happened with me was I lost respect for Will Herren because you got to remember, I lived it. I was there. Nick has demonstrably lied about multiple things while I fucking nailed it and never lied about what we were doing. While he was being ashamed and denying it, I was telling everybody what I did for the last year. So when Will became a propagandist and he dropped the journalist shtick and he stopped being inquisitive and he stopped, thinking, could this all be a bunch of bullshit? Am I being used? Once Will allowed himself to be used basically as a filter for lies, I just lost respect for him. I wouldn't say I wasn't polite to him. I just treated him with the respect I thought he deserved, which was very, very little. It upset Will. He got very mad. It caused him to make a lot of mistakes. And now he is where he is now. And the latest thing where he had to admit that he lied about me contacting his boss, oof, that was a rough one too. And now his latest lie, I read that Will was like, oh yeah, everything's backed up, like the baseball bat story and this, that, and the other thing. It's like, bro, I was there. None of this stuff was ever written, recorded, anything. There is no documentation on this. If you're saying that just to try and save face, I get it. But if someone told you that, it wouldn't be the first time that Nick's lied to you. But he's lying to you again. I'm sorry. Again, I don't know why you wouldn't just, get more information from the guy who's given the correct information all the time. But Will's kind of stupid. They're kind of Bobby Boucher down there on the bayou. Jane, well, he thought that those horse teeth looked good. So, judgment. Power Windows says the craziest thing is when Nick said you're a few bad days away from getting a felony. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I mean, he tried as hard as he could to lie in his statement to police and send a bunch of photos that were never sent to anyone. Like, Nick sent more photos to people than I did. I mean, I sent one to Gino. He couldn't reproduce it because he never had it. It was one that I took myself. And Nick then went to the police or went to the prosecutor and sent them like 5 or 6 fucking pictures. It's like, dude, how about a little dignity? And then 15 pages. He went to the police and he ranted for 15 pages about what a terrible guy I am. And I mean, the biggest fucking delusions I've ever read. I laughed out loud numerous times. And all that for a $50 fine and a misdemeanor. I mean, he lied as hard as he could to get that felony charge. And then the minute they kind of looked at it and went, the facts of this case do not bear this out, they offered us something that I think was fair, that I think fits what I did. But to humiliate yourself in such a way. And like, eventually when this is all over, when enough time has passed, I'll show you the papers and everything. I'm glad I'm me and not him. Put it that way. Numero Uno says Nick claims he didn't send 6 pictures in. Yeah, Nick also claimed he was aggressively monogamous. Nick also claims it was donut powder on his nose. Come on. He also says that I didn't take the picture consensually. I mean, he's lied a lot. No, it was 5 or 6. I mean, shit, I have all of the fucking discovery. Like, I have all of the list of the shit. 5 or 6 pictures. Every time he gets embarrassed by the truth, he just goes, no. No, Kurt doesn't have a right to have his voice removed from Super Tips. I mean, sure, I haven't read the terms of service, but he just immediately goes into turtle shell mode. Professor Tie-Dye says, you think Nick knows capable of dignity or showing value for anyone else's dignity? I think when you're Nick and you're addicted and you're in all this trouble, in fairness to him, and your brain is fucked up and you probably have depression, I would guess. I think all you can think of, to put it in boxing terms, is you're just covering up. You're just defending yourself. I don't know if it's can't preserve anyone else's dignity or it's more, well, first of all, he has a blood vengeance. He has a need for vengeance against me. I've wronged him somehow. It can't be him who fucked his life up. It has to be the guy who came in at the tail end 4 months. It has to be his fault, not Nick. You got to remember, Nick's a Nepo baby. He's never taken responsibility for anything, ever. So it's got to be somebody else's fault. So there was that grudge. So he can't look like the bad guy. Take that for what it's worth. So I'm not one of these people who just goes, oh, the worst possible thing a person can be, that's what Nick is. No, in many ways, I empathize with Nick. I understand that he's under fire right now and he's really stressed and probably depressed and white knuckling addiction. I mean, he does have the Adderall that he's probably popping like Pez, but it's got to be a bitch. Like, it's got to be really difficult. And when you're facing that one day at a fucking time and white knuckling cocaine and alcohol sobriety simultaneously, or you go to fucking prison, I don't think that he's actively trying to take away anyone's dignity or he's actively trying to shit on anyone or anything else. I think he just has to take every piece of energy he has to defend himself and protect himself. I get that. Yes, it comes off as he's a piece of shit who isn't worth spit on the sidewalk, but that's not what he's trying to do. He's just trying to protect himself. Nomo says he has the temperament of a bitter woman. He does have effeminate energy, but it's scorned. He not necessarily, even, male, female, doesn't matter. He's a scorned guy. And he's also remarkably immature, and that's, a lot of that's because of his upbringing. He was, that affluenza type shit. I hate to use that phrase because people act like you're not holding people accountable, but he never had to grow up. I mean, people don't just enter their cocaine and fucking going crazy phase at 42. They do that in their 20s. Nick is underdeveloped by about 25 or 30 years. Pray by 12 writes he's 14 emotionally. Yeah. And I know he'll probably see this. He watches everything about himself and he'll think, hey, shitting on me, you're gonna. Not even shitting on him. Not even shitting on him. Just accurately trying to give people a window into something based on the chat they're very, very curious about. Jane and John Doe says the new shtick is abusing pay online Adderall. He's complaining of insomnia, anxiety, and irritability, which is a side effect of abuse. Yeah, I mean, I've heard some rumors about Adderall abuse. I don't know what to believe. I don't know how much access these people have or if they're just guessing, but yeah, I've heard some rumors. Mint Diggity says you can tell by the way he thinks doing coke is cool. You have 5 kids. Well, he did share in that regard with one of them at least. But that was a cheap shot. It's true, but it's a cheap shot. Yeah, the way he thinks doing coke is cool, he does. He has the attitude of a teenager who snuck behind the shed with the Playboys he stole from the gas station. He's got that. And when you get to know him personally, it's even worse than that. He very much is that vibe. Bad things happening to him, I think the phrase, it's not fair, would be the perfect way I could describe his temperament. Jane and John Doe says, any new details on email violations? Yeah, the FBI takes a hell of a long time. What can we say? Their resources are needed to look into the vast quantity of shit and disbursement there is. I do believe eventually it will be a more localized issue. But right now, there's just certain resources that are needed. Nomo says if he was single, it would be fine. But acting like this with a family to take care of, oof. That's why I had to get the fuck out. I said it. I go, I'll never bring my kids there again. I got to snap the fuck out of it. And that's not me being a hero, by the way. That's me noticing that way too late. I should have said it day fucking one when the fucker brought a bullet of cocaine out at my house one of the first times he came over and just put a line for himself to do on my kitchen counter. Like, who the fuck does that but a person with an infant's mentality? And I had to tell him right there, I'm like, hey, could you do me a favor? I got 3 kids I share custody with. Could you not bring that shit into my home? Now, my kids weren't home at the time, but I said, there's 3 kids here a lot of the time. Don't bring that shit into my home. Oh, sorry. And then one day he brings this whole fucking safe here. I lose my shit, kick everybody out of the house, but not before a bullet of coke falls out of his pocket. He walks away, tra-la-la, because he doesn't know where the fuck he is half the time. And then I go and I find a fucking bullet of cocaine next to where my daughter's playing on her tablet. And he tried to defend himself on that. Just completely incapable of taking accountability. Pray by 12. And by the way, never apologized for that. And he never will. He never will. He can't humble himself in that way. Mommy and daddy never did. Nick was also never brought up to properly be a man, unfortunately. Pray by 12 says, we can tell that's what drug addiction does. It stunts you emotionally. Yeah, there's probably some Swiss cheese holes in that brain. $2 from TDR Shit Show says, back to Monday's conversation. This is why ass whoopings as a kid are a good thing. His dad doesn't have it in him. He does. And I'm against hitting kids, but I mean, even like teaching him how to be a man and that, he just doesn't have it in him. I mean, you're talking about a guy who lied for him in open court. I was in that house at the same time as Nick's dad. He knew what fucking state the house was in. He saw signs of intoxication. It was just a flat out lie. Mint Diggity says, what a dork. Yeah, but also, again, I don't mean to defend him. And I love that you guys have your questions about this today. I think that's great. And that's what the member show is for. I don't mean to, I don't want it to come off like I'm defending him because he's done horrific things in his life. He's hurt people. But I'm just lucky that I'm the resilient one and I can fucking carry on and be fine. There's others who can't and have been seriously damaged by the dude. But I don't mean to let you guys shit on him and me give him a pass, but in many ways, just straight up he doesn't know any better. MSO says Nick should know better. Homeowner does first line. Yeah, that's what really upset me. Is that, the lack of decorum. Pray by 12 says, you did kick him out once. I did, but that should have been the end of it right there. That's on me. That's on me. Bapa Shab says, was that before or after you blew each other? Well, I mean, look, you got to be friendly to show someone you can trust. Chef Maddox says, how the hell can he not take responsibility for dropping the bullet? Oh, he deflects. He gets mad about something else. You're a piece of shit for something else. In this case, it was getting mad at April for being so fucking coked up that she didn't give a shit that the bullet was dropped next to the kid. And I was pissed at her for that. And then she tried to gaslight me by going, you said everyone should leave. You kicked me out of my own house. I go, no, everyone means everyone but the people who live here. Like if you and your wife are throwing a party and you go, everyone out, you're clearly not kicking out your wife. But she was so fucked up on drugs and probably depressed that it made sense to her at the time. So Nick tried to deflect and make it about that. Again, if you've ever hung out around two cokeheads and you're not on coke, oh my God, it's a fucking ride, the mental gymnastics they can do. And then they can wake up from their little coke haze and not even think about it. It's crazy. Pray by 12 says, living with an addict can kill you. His kids definitely felt it. Yeah, everybody's kids felt it. He doesn't think they did. And I think that's, again, that self-defense mechanism. Oh, I couldn't have done that. That would make me a monster. The sooner you acknowledge the fact that you were a monster in that time, the sooner you can redeem yourself and not be that person anymore. I think people like him get so afraid of labeling themselves something, they can't see past the trees and see that on the other side of that, you get to stop being that. If you deny what you were, you never stop truly being it. In my case, I had said many times, I was a monster. I did really terrible, evil, sinful shit. And only then could I go to therapy, go to Al-Anon, and figure it out from there. And I'm really, really glad I did. And I'm still adorable. Numero uno, Josh Denny fan says, hold up, he's explaining about insomnia. He said he gets the Adderall for narcolepsy. Yeah, I thought that was weird too. I wasn't going to point it out because I thought maybe it was a mistake. Yeah, he has narcolepsy, not insomnia. Oh. Interesting.